welcome to Dogs Down South, episode 46. 46 episodes of Dogs Down South. Man, what a year. This has been a full season, and man, I can't thank everyone enough for all the likes, follows, the instrumental activity on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, 700 plus, almost to the 800 mark on Apple Podcasts. Um, it's the end of a college football season for every team but four. We are in a stretch now where there are four teams playing for the national championship, and the Dogs are not one of them. So we are in off-season mode, and man, it seems a little early, but is what it is, right? We cannot go any further tonight without first. I wanted to dedicate a little time to the first part of the show and send our condolences to our thoughts and prayers to Coach Kirby Smart and his family. Sonny Smart, his father, passed away 12:15 a.m. On New Year's Day. And actually, that was Saturday. I apologize. And so the University of Georgia made the announcement. Smart underwent hip surgery from a fall that happened on New Year's Eve, fractured his hip, underwent surgery, but complications arose. Smart was surrounded by his wife, Sharon, and their three children, Carl, Kirby, and Kendall. I know, I can't imagine, just going through, probably knowing that happened definitely on New Year's Eve, and then Kirby having to, with all the distractions from the tragedy that happened with the 15 people that lost their lives in New Orleans. Just so much going on behind the scenes. I know Nate Frazier tweeted out, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So just really wild, really crazy stuff going on. And Coach Smart trying to get the team to play through all this stuff. And man, I can't begin to imagine what they were going through. So, man, Sonny Smart, Kirby talked about his dad a lot. He talked about how, you never know how much his dad meant to him, and the things that, the reason why Georgia is such a well-oiled machine in so many areas of not only just college football, but just mentoring men, programs being just well-oiled machines, from recruiting to scouting to development to grades to upstanding young men. And it just, when you look at that and what, Kirby had to learn that from, which was his dad running high school programs, right? So he talks about constantly about how his dad ran such an incredible high school program and what Kirby learned from him. And you saw so many memories of when we won the SEC championship just this past year, and the national championships, where him and his mom come up to him and they're hugging and crying it out, and just so many memories. And this kind of hit close to home due to the fact that, very similar to my mom, who fell, and whatever complications with between God and what's going on here, that she didn't make it too much farther past that either. She didn't have surgery, but I have no idea what goes on in that avenue. But I will say that this I think was sudden. This was very sudden and not expected at all. And so I can only imagine having to go through the tragedy of going through, being so close to the attack in New Orleans on New Year's Eve / day, and then also dealing with his dad falling, and then the Sugar Bowl loss, and then losing his dad. I can't imagine what Kirby's going through. So wanted to make sure we took a little time tonight to just say, Kirby, our thoughts and prayers, all of Dog Nation, are with you and your family at this time, and that's the most important thing right now. I know tons of players have tweeted out and messaged out support for Kirby, and this is his dad meant so much to him, but his dad, his dad lives in him and through him, and I definitely don't want to use this as motivation just to pitch a comeback year of great football, but I know he will coach differently this year. I really think that will happen with his dad heavy on his heart. But thoughts and prayers go out to Kirby Smart and the Georgia family with the loss of Sonny Smart, his dad. So, with that being said, moving on, we talked earlier about 4 teams being left in the college football playoff. Georgia's not in it. We're out of it. So, where do we go from here? Even today, as early as today, we got portal news. Some of that portal news came from the likes of the Branch brothers coming to Georgia. My screen is really glitchy. I'm going to try to get right here to the best of my ability here. So the Branch brothers coming to Georgia. Who are these guys, right? So Zakarian Branch and Zion Branch. Zakarian was a 5-star out of California, who is going to come to us with 2 years of eligibility. Really elusive, breakout wide receiver. I know the sarcastic comments are going to be, can he catch? Things of that nature. And then his brother, Zion. This was kind of a dual thing for Georgia. They were able to get both of these guys. Zion is a safety. He will have a year. And I don't know if he has a COVID year or not left in eligibility, but they'll both have years of eligibility left as they sign an NIL deal with Georgia. I'm sure it's the portal, right? But needless to say, not focusing on the portal, we're glad to have these guys. These are the first 2 portal splashes of the offseason for Georgia, right after we had 2 of our own. I mean, we've had portal splashes already, but the ones that are the closest to home today have been Jaden Rashada is entering into the portal, and also Anthony Evans, who a lot of you guys know, he's been returning kick returns for us this year. He didn't really get on the field this year a lot with the wide receiver groupings, and when he did, he was used more of in a running format, and really and truly had some injuries, and I don't know if that affected his kick returning responsibilities either. He was just one of those guys I didn't really, we never really, I think, flipped the field per se when he was returning kicks. And Zakarian is going to give us another receiver that's going to come in with that elusive speed. He's going to give us some of that Arian Smith speed. A little bit taller, a little bit stronger guy, and he's going to be able to return punts for us. So super excited about Zakarian Branch and Zion Branch. First 2 splashes for Georgia after losing Anthony Evans, Jaden Rashada. And then the other things that were announced, Tate Radledge did formally announce that he is entering the NFL draft. He took a Senior Bowl invite. Arian took a Senior Bowl invite. I'm assuming that means the same for Arian, even though Arian has a COVID year left. What we want to talk about tonight is without diving too deep, because we're going to be talking a lot about content, about the off-season content, as we get into spring and gearing up for spring practice. But obviously, the biggest thing on a lot of Dog fans' minds are, so what now? What's the big thing now? The 2 things I'd love to talk about tonight are Dogs Down South is affiliates with tons of different Facebook pages with fans out there. One is Ultimate Dog. We go on to Silver Britches. We go on to Dog Nation. We go on to 247, and we go into a ton of these things. One of the biggest active ones with about 7,000 plus members is Ultimate Dog, and I posted over there, and we're definitely gonna look at portal. We're gonna look at what our defense could look like next year, offense could look like next year coming into the off season, what we need to focus on, so on and so forth. But I wanted to spend a little time tonight just on a little bit of our fan base. I think it's very evident that we are in somewhat of don't know where to go type mode. with our fan base, and I'm actually I'm just trying to hop in here real quick. Yeah, I can see it better here. So I made a post about 2 days ago. Obviously, had a big reaction show to the Sugar Bowl, but the post dealt with 3 different things. Now, before we preempt this, I will tell you, my big overreaction show for the Sugar Bowl talked a lot about Gunnar Stockton. Now, at this point in time, I do think that Gunnar is going to be the guy. I went back and watched the game, even though it was very hard to. But I watched that game, and I do agree with a lot of people, even my colleagues, even Rich Man Fish, that aren't on with me tonight. But I do agree that we didn't do 2 things well. That we haven't done one thing we haven't done well at all year is just catch the ball. So I get that. Offensive line play was very suspect, but it's been a little suspect in times throughout the entire year. But I will tell you this, and I'll add a 4th thing to this, but I went on to Ultimate Dog because there's it's Bulldogs on 247 is where I put it, and then also on Ultimate Dog, a couple of Facebook groups with probably over 15,000 people on both. And I put top 3 things that need to be addressed this offseason. And I really back this up. Um, you know, it's taken me a long time to fully address and really come behind Mike Bobo and just really make the decision to go, am I just kind of overreacting, or do I really think this is the time that, Bobo, it might be time. I mean, it might be time to exit. A lot of people, I've heard comments from, his Kirby's dad just died. Like, let it rest, even if you said it before. I'm gonna pause real quick and clear my throat. Sorry about that. Let it rest. Kirby's, dealing with the loss of his dad. I totally get that. I'm not, you know, this isn't a show must go on mentality. We're just talking. There's a lot of fans out there that have been Georgia fans for a long time, and they sit around sometimes and they go, okay, so what's next? I mean, they live off of what's next. They're looking forward to, and we've gone through looking forward to our next SEC game, to our next game against Auburn, to our next game against Tennessee, to our next game against Georgia Tech, to our SEC championship, to our Sugar Bowl. I mean, dog fans that have been dog fans for a long time, that's how they function. What's next? They're best off of what's next. So what I put was top 3 things that need to be addressed this offseason. I do think it's formally time to look at where are we at with Mike Bobo and our offensive coordinator. This is not coming from a person that's overreacting. I'm not. We've done numerous shows about Mike Bobo, and I really, if you look back at the days of the national championships with Todd Monken, what Monken was able to do is to scheme the offense. That's why he's so successful with the Ravens. And I do think Monken might land himself a head coaching job if he wants it very soon. He gets the ball in the right players' hands. It doesn't matter how it's going to happen. He gets it in their hands. Now, a lot of us can say, I'm already hearing it. I put this first comment out and it was like, well, Bobo can't catch the passes. Listen, you're right. Bobo can't catch the passes. But also, when I'm looking at play calling, I just know that as a wide receiver, as I'm running a route, if I feel like that what I'm doing is successful and is 100% going to put me in position to where I'm either going to score, be successful, with yardage after catch, things of that nature. The confidence I have in running a route and being able to catch a ball and a quarterback being on time and a wide receiver being on time, it just makes me feel better. And I know a lot of you guys are going to say, okay, we had those sometimes. Let's take the Sugar Bowl, for instance. What happened to Dylan Bell when it hit him in his face mask? He dropped it. He dropped it. I don't know if we can. If you guys think we can coach drops at this point in college football, I think I don't know if we're doing that. I don't know if we're hitting the jugs machine once a day for 30 minutes and ripping hands up. Like I remember when I was a kid, in high school, if we had a terrible baseball game and we had a bunch of errors, like we would leave that stadium, go back to our stadium, not go home, not go to the locker room, change, get out of our uniform and go home. We would go back to our field, turn the lights on in uniform, and we would get hundreds of ground balls hit at us going about 1,000 miles per hour for the next hour. Um, I took one in the nose in the infield, drills after a game where we played horribly and probably saved the whole team from being out there for a couple of hours. Um, so I get that, we ripping ground balls at us because we gotta be able to field ground balls. That's the whole thing, right? And so we get on the jugs machine and we just what? We chunk the ball at somebody going 90 miles an hour. I don't think these guys have hands issues. I think they understand how to catch the football. I think it's just something where you look at our players and you go, I watched. I'm in the Tampa area. I watched Mike Evans today break Jerry Rice's record um, against the Saints. There were some balls, man, that they were not even close to where he was at. Can you look at Baker Mayfield and go, he's a terrible quarterback? Actually, Baker Mayfield this year is really he's turned a lot of heads this year. He's done an incredible job for the Bucks. I mean, with all those injuries in the secondary, Chris Godwin's been out, all the injuries in the wide receiver group. I mean, you look at what they've done, and they could blame a lot of things and a lot of stuff, but they're 10-7. They're going to the playoffs this year. What I'm trying to get at is I watched Mike Evans today catch pass after pass after pass, and it's preparation. It's eating, sleeping, and living at catching the football. I remember when Jake Fromm, Stetson Bennett used to throw and throw and throw. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't know if, when you look at Gunner and the culture he brings to the team, and you look at Carson Beck and you look at the arm and the NFL arm and accuracy he brought to the team, but I don't know if any of that panned out into us having better receivers and better connectivity with our quarterbacks and receivers. I look at it as work ethic. I look at it as things you can only do that's outside of the minutes of practice that you have. Those coaches only have so much time with these players. They're paying you thousands, millions of dollars to some of you guys. It's not only millions of dollars worth of, I don't know about millions, but thousands of dollars worth of education on top of NIL money for you to do one thing: go to class and catch the ball. Any of you guys looking up and going, okay, that's a coaching issue. That's not a coaching issue. That's not a coaching issue. It's not. At that point in time, they got to put the best players they can on the field, and the ones we had this year, for some reason, didn't catch as well as in the past. Is that because Dylan Bell is a terrible wide receiver? No, Dylan Bell caught balls well into his freshman year that made him the reason why we looked at Dylan Bell as going to be a breakout receiver this year. This is Dom Lovett's breakout year, right? Never happened, right? Arian Smith, track star speed, couldn't catch the ball. My question is, and I don't know. Did anybody, how many hours did Carson Beck stay after throwing the ball constantly over and over? Maybe Gunner didn't want to because he didn't want to piss anybody off because he's the backup quarterback. Who knows? But I think we had a lot of that going on this year. There was a lot of disconnect with the quarterback play and the wide receiver room and the running back room. We didn't run the ball well this year either. So there's a lot of things that didn't connect Georgia football this year, which was running the ball effectively, blocking, setting up the running, and then complementary football. How do you think Monken lived complementary football? Ability to run the football means we play complementary football and we get easy throws to our wide receivers. When you can't do that, there's a ton of pressure on the quarterback. Why do you think we came from behind 7, 8, 9 times this year? So I do think we are at a point where we need to take a good hard look at Mike Bobo. Now, I put it on there and said, take a good hard look. Do I think it's time? Yeah, I think it's time. I don't want to get rid of him. He's a great friend of Kirby Smart's. Maybe he moves up moves up to the front office in some capacity, similar to, um, similar to a role that Will Muschamp has. The second thing I have on here that's got to pan out starting today is we have to identify leadership. We got to identify leadership for this team. We got to figure out who we're going to. We got to figure out when somebody makes an off-season screw up and actually acts like a kid and does something stupid, who's going to hold them accountable besides the coaching staff? And the third thing I have is playmakers. It's funny. I posted this on Bulldogs on 247 Sports 2 days ago. And at the bottom of my post, it says, "For the love of everything, get active in the portal. The Branch brothers need to be signed ASAP. Zakarian Branch is the best playmaker we don't have on the roster right now. Go get Cook from Texas too. We can talk about him, but that's been, solved, right? So a lot of feedback from this post, right? Lots of feedback. A lot of people said O-line coach also. I think Stacy Searles, I don't know, man. There was a lot of times this year where I felt like we just didn't look like we knew what was going on. We have a ton of NFL talent. We just didn't look like we knew what was going on. Now, could that be offensive scheme? Could that be offensive coordinator not meshing well with offensive line coach? Is that not trust of the offensive line coach to trust of the offensive coordinator? It just looked like we weren't on the same page. And maybe we changed the maybe we maybe that's it. Maybe we changed so many philosophies throughout the year that we just didn't feel good about it. I don't know. I can't name it. A lot of comments on here. Seal should be the first one gone. That's from a top contributor on 247 Sports. These are some things that were kind of said back after this post. I'm going to read the rest of the post too. I talked about developing leadership. There's some names out there for leadership. I look at, is what happens to Trevor Etienne now? Because if he's going to be a part of this team, he needs to now be a vital leader on this team. CJ, Dalen Everett, KJ, Raylan, Oscar Dell. These are people who have to be. They need to start being invested in incredibly right now. Lead them, meet with them constantly, work with them constantly, get them to start doing those things that weren't done this year. Talked about playmakers. So some of the comments I heard, how about some good O-line players who can block? I don't think it's the O-line players. We have a guy named Juan Gaston coming to us who was one of the big names that was talked about from the Under Armour game, where nobody was getting around this guy. He's like 6'7", 345 pounds, and he blocked anything, including, anything. He was blocking cell phone signals, I think. We have great offensive linemen. Tate Ratledge is going to be a first-round pick. In my opinion, I think Tate's going to be a first-round pick. We have first-round talent on the line. Micah Norris, Jared Wilson, Monroe Freeling. You guys hate Monroe Freeling, but Monroe Freeling actually, maybe he may have lost in some ways the Notre Dame game for us, but he won some games for us against some other teams where you looked and went, holy cow, right? When he came in, Ernest Green. It may be just coaching, but it may be offensive philosophy, because I'm the offensive coordinator. I'm in deep communication with what's going on with the offensive line. Like, me and Stacy Searles are like, we are neck and neck. No offense. I think if you're Mike Bobo, that is Stacy Searles reports to you. So that would be something for me. I also heard, the names I had on my list. These are some names that I just came up that I spoke with people about. Buster Faulkner at Georgia Tech comes to mind. I think he would be a great addition. A lot of people have said that Buster Faulkner was actually the person in waiting, but when Monken drug his feet that second year, Buster decided to go, and I think Buster thought he wasn't going to be anywhere. I would give Buster Faulkner whatever he wants. He's first on my list, actually. Eric Bieniemy at UCLA is an interesting name. Dirk Cotter from Boise State's an interesting name. Dirk Cotter also was the head coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their offensive coordinator. I thought they had a great offense when Dirk Cotter was around. Is he got some issues? Yeah, but also when Monken came to us from where he came from, he had some issues too, right? So, I believe I believe you can take some good with the bad, and I think depending on where you're at is depending on what depicts your play calling style. Some really big, like some stretch grabs would be, Charlie Weiss Jr. from Ole Miss. I don't know. Somebody wouldn't like that maybe, but Kendall Browse from TCU. These are all names that were just brought up. And I just some of the comments are just crazy. Like absolutely crazy. Somebody put Brian Hartline I heard some about Brian Hartline to the list. Young mind, great recruiter, great developer of wide receivers. Very not a bad response on that one. Joe Brady from Buffalo. I don't know, man. I don't know if I do think if you posted the offensive coordinator position for Georgia football, I do think that some of these jobs that you're thinking about right now, it's a very prolific job out there. And here comes the ones that I'm going to just rest on a minute. Our offensive coordinator is not the problem. Y'all casuals kill me. Our so what? And the question I asked was, you know, if the receivers catch the ball in the national in the game against Notre Dame, um, the ones that we dropped, I think it was 3 blatant drops. Does Georgia win that game? We don't. Even if we don't, we caught one and got it called 15 yards back because of the bogus play with the reserve cornerback that standing in the white line when the ref hits, and we got that call back. The next play after Dylan Bell dropped the ball, we scored. Um, the other 2 plays, we couldn't score because we were in a situation from giving up 17 points in, I don't know, 60 seconds. We gave up 10 points in 11 seconds, and then we gave up a kickoff return in the first half. Other people said, you know, I hear, okay, casual. People just love to hear that. Um, a lot of people talking about Bobo's play calls. Drop passes decreased when Gunner was in. There was a culture issue with Beck, and everyone knows it. I think you casually watch the games, but really don't pick up on it all. Okay, 5'10", 170 pounds. Cash Jones should be running zone read between tackles. Come on, man. Get real. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, why are we like? What are we doing, man? Um, just more numerous stuff to think about. People like Bieniemy. The Branch brothers are already on board. Don't say that these are soft delusional fans going to rip your head off. And I agree, man. I mean, it's tough times. It's tough times. So bottom line is, and I want to make sure and keep this show tonight a little bit shorter, but the bottom line is that I think we have to address some of these things. I think we need to look at. I mean, Georgia football has been run the football. It's not coincidental that in the last 2 years after losing last year I think we got as far as we did because Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers could do a lot of things. Regardless of if Beck hated the play or not, he was looking for one of them. Last year we had, in my opinion, Kendall Milton, we had injuries at running back. Dejon Edwards, he wasn't, we didn't have as great a running backs as we had better running backs this year. I like Dejon Edwards. I think Kirby always likes to have a thunder and lightning. What was our thunder this year? It doesn't matter what thunder you have in there if you don't have any storm in front of them, which is the offensive line. If there's no storm in front of that thunder and lightning, then it ain't thunder and lightning, and it ain't gonna do anything. So I do think running the football is something Georgia has to get back to. So that's why I think we have to start the conversation this offseason with Mike Bobo and Stacy Searles. I do think that as we look at, we're just going to get into it right now, but as we look at what's coming back next year that could be a possibility for, position groups, I do think as we do that, it's very eye-opening that if we change nothing, it's not really going to matter, right? if we change nothing, it's not really going to matter what we bring back. As we look at starting defense, I think Tyrion Ingram's Dawkins is a 5-star. I think he will lock down one of those end positions again. Another person we need to look to for leadership. We need to be in the ballpark of him coming in and going, who is a defensive leader? And I think Dawkins will give us that. Former 5-star. Um, I think a piece that is another centerpiece for us is Christian Miller. I think Christian Miller has to put some weight on this year, a little bit more weight, in my opinion. But I think Christian Miller did a really great job this offseason, and I think he will get to shine a little bit more with Stackhouse going, exhausting all his eligibility. Another person I look at is Jordan Hall, 5-star. I mean, injury prone this year, but is this his turning point season? He has everything going for him as far as talk and as far as stars and as far as, this is what he should look like. What do we get from him though this year? Um, and I think I think Elijah Griffin is going to come in and he's going to make an immediate difference in this defensive line. Immediate difference. I think there's a good chance he starts this year. I don't know how you're going to keep him off the field. Under Armour game looked at him and called him Dr. Doom. They said he caused so much havoc. I think Elijah Griffin's going to be a big time player for Georgia. Quick, very quick. And so as you look at the defensive line, there's more. But as you look at the defensive line, those are just some names that stand out. Also, a couple things to look at are, Damon Wilson, breakthrough year. I think Damon did an incredible job this year. I think he'll be a guy that, as he's coming back for his junior year, will make a big difference. Former 5-star. Obviously, CJ Allen, this will be his coming out party. This will be a big year for CJ to really buckle down. A lot of people have questions about CJ. I like CJ. I think CJ could be really good for us. I think he could go down as one of the better linebackers in Georgia history. He does a lot of great things well. He's a smart guy. He doesn't have that freak athlete ability that Jalen has. I'm going to miss Jalen. He was a guy that I followed for the last 2 years, 2.5 years, and I always said, like, when he got his shot, he was going to be a game changer. It just goes to show what's sticking it out and not just hopping in the portal and trying to figure out how to get on the field and how to get some reps. And I mean, Jalen's going to be a top 10 pick. I think if he doesn't, it's because somebody doesn't need a linebacker bad enough. But I definitely would say he's top 5, top 15. Justin Williams, another name to look out for, who didn't really break in this year because of Jalen and CJ and Smile, and I think he's a name to look out for. And then Chris Cole, who'd had some reps this year, 5-star. A lot of 5-stars out there, a lot of stars out there. Raylan Wilson, I think, will be a guy that we can look to carry some big hours for us. And then Dalen Everett returning. Daniel Harris did a great job. Where does Ellis Robinson fit in this, though, right? Because you want to make sure that Ellis feels like he's in there somewhere, right? A lot of talent, but does he squeak out of here? Because, I mean, one of the highest ranked recruits nationally that Georgia's ever signed. I mean, top 3, top 4 as far as number ranking that Georgia's ever signed. And obviously KJ Bolden coming back at the free safety position. And then you got strong safety Joel Aguaro that had a lot of reps this year. Defense looks, to have some returnees that can make a huge difference. Offense, I mean, I'm just talking about people that are returning. You got Gunner. I know Jaden is now. Sorry about that. A little swallow of water. I know Gunner will be back next year. I think. I don't know. If I know Kirby, I don't think Kirby's gonna be looking for a quarterback unless something drops in our lap. I know you got Ryan Puglisi in that mix. You got Ryan Montgomery, who he signed, and also you're looking at, I forget the other kid's name. I will find it though. Um, you got Trevor Etienne. As far as I know, he will be back next year. But I think with all the injuries, it would do him good to come back. Nate Frazier, Dylan Bell, he could go pro. I don't think he does. I think he stays one more year. London Humphreys, Nitro Tuggle, already, obviously, we went after him in the portal. So he looks to be a big spot in this offense next year. And then as well as now Zakarian Branch, as well as you got a 5-star Talon Taylor. You got CJ Wiley. I mean, we really got some. You got Blackshear. We got some guys. We got some dudes. We signed 5 wideouts, and now we've added our 6th in the portal this year in this class. Oscar Delp, Lawson Lucky, and then obviously Elias Williams and Ethan Barber at tight end, Monroe Freeling, Dylan Fairchild. I mean, these are all starters. Jared Wilson, Micah Morris, Ernest Green. At some point in time, they all started. So, as Georgia faithful, we like to look at what's next, right? And so, lot to be looking out for. That's why I think for Kirby, next year could be a very interesting year. I think the defense will be fine. I think we have a lot of talent on defense. I continue to say, what is the offensive game plan going to be? We probably need more. We probably will still seek out a little more help on the forefront of the receiver group as well as the secondary. But I do feel like that as we look at it now, there's a little bit of mixture of going, all right, who's going to hit the portal? We still don't know. So you have 5 days after being put out to figure out what you want to do. I'm gonna get the portal rules right now. Portal rules for playoff. I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter what day it is. They have a 5-day window that opens on the day after each team's final game. A 10-day spring window opens in mid-April. So that opened on the 2nd. So if I'm not mistaken, we are coming up on the 6th, right? Yeah. So tomorrow's the 6th. So you're day 4 on Monday. So Tuesday at midnight is the last day that everybody can go portal wise. So we'll see who that is. There'll be a lot of portal activity as well going on. But yeah, that's kind of where we stand. And so once again, not the result we wanted, but this is the start of the off season. And so we will start the grind of the off season. We will continue to watch portal. Next show we will talk about will be after Tuesday and the portal closes. And we will probably be shutting it down as far as trying to figure out what it looks like going into spring ball. The long off season of January and February, which I think for Georgia, I think we need it. We will watch and we will look on at these last 2 playoff games before the national championship. Maybe I'll watch them. Maybe I won't. And then we'll get to starting back with previewing everything from the SEC to way too early outlooks for rankings, way too early everything, right? We're going to wait too early everything just to get us up till spring ball. But that's going to be our show for tonight. Once again, as we started the show, I'm going to end the show the same way and continue to lift thoughts and prayers up to Sonny Smart and his family, Kirby and his family. I'm sorry, to Kirby and his family with the loss of their dad, Sonny Smart, husband, father, friend, just a incredible man in not only that community, but to a lot of kids when he coached high school. And I'm sure definitely to the family. So we just want to support them in any way we can right now. And I think right now for us fans, it would be um, to make sure and pray for their family, the strength, so that Kirby can have some time to be able to mourn the loss of his dad. But even more important for coaches to step up and be able to make him feel like he has that time. So, on behalf of myself, hopefully we get Fish and Rich Man back very soon. Uh, the off season has started. It has begun. We are into it full grind. Portal is winding down on Tuesday. We'll be back live sometime this week to talk about what that looks like. But until then, you guys have a great evening, great start to your week. And as always, go Dogs.